dorms are supposed to feel safe. They're full of people, lights always on, noise coming from somewhere, laughter, music, late-night snacks. But when the halls fall quiet, when the lights go out, you start to realize how thin the walls really are, and how sometimes you might not be the only one awake. These are the stories that never made it into the student handbook. Real encounters, whispered memories, and the kind of nights that follow you long after graduation. Welcome to Tales from the Dorms.
I didn't think this was a horror story until 5 years after it happened. At the time, it was just a hot night and a dead building. Now that night pretty much haunts my sister. More than me, I think. I lived on the 5th floor of a dorm-style apartment, a small studio. My room was in the middle of the corridor. The main staircase was on my left. The elevators were directly across from my door. My sister Rena's room was 3 doors to my right. We kept separate rooms because our schedules didn't match, but we went back and forth all the time. I did it so much that my body had a habit. Every time I opened my door, my eyes flicked right first, automatic, like checking a mirror. It was a summer night, past midnight. We were playing an online game from our own rooms, yelling at each other on voice chat. The power died mid-laugh. Not a flicker, just gone. The AC shut off. The silence after was thick. My room heated up immediately. Humid, still air, nothing moving. I hit the button on my small fan out of reflex. The blades started turning. It surprised me. I didn't remember ever putting batteries in it. Maybe I did and forgot, but it worked, and the moving air made the heat bearable. I thought of Rena. She was definitely on the floor. We were in the same game lobby. If I had a working fan, I should share. Simple. After about 30 minutes of blackout, I stepped into the hallway. Everything was dark except for the weak emergency light near the staircase. The elevator lights were dead. I went to Rena's door and knocked. "Come sleep in my room," I said. "I've got a fan." Her door didn't open, but I heard her voice clearly through it.
"Be there in a minute."
"Okay," I said, relieved. I headed back to my room and lay down on my bed. 15 minutes passed. No Rena. I got up to check again. Habit kicked in. I opened my door and looked right toward her end of the hall. And when I turned left, she was there, close enough that I almost bumped into her shoulder. I jumped and made a stupid noise. The hallway was that dim green-gray from the emergency light, and she was just there, on the wrong side of where my brain expected her. "What the? How are you?" I pointed right, then left, like that explained anything. Rena blinked at me, a little shiny with sweat.
"I went to security to ask about the power," she said. "They said they're working on it."
I was still rattled from the scare, but I nodded. "Okay, come in. I've got air." We went into my room. The fan helped, and we lay on top of the sheets. We talked a little. We slept. That was it. The night ended. Nothing else happened. For 5 years, I thought of it as nothing. A blackout. A jump scare because I expected my sister on the right and found her on the left. A dumb, funny incident. Life moved. We graduated. We moved. The apartment became a faded memory you could almost smell if you stood outside in August. 5 years later, we were having dinner. Me, Rena, and a friend. The conversation drifted to ghosts and movies. Rena said,
"I'm really scared of ghosts. Like, truly. Call me a coward."
I laughed and nodded. Facts. But hey, remember that blackout? You walked from the 5th floor to security alone in the dark, braver than I expected. I was teasing her. I remembered the humidity, the dead elevators, the emergency light, her showing up on my left and scaring me. "You did that by yourself." Rena's face scrunched.
"I didn't go alone."
Our friend paused with their chopsticks.
Oh?
"I went with a lady from our floor. Long straight hair, office clothes, like she'd just gotten off work."
My stomach dropped. "What lady?"
"She was behind me when you talked to me at the door. You didn't see her?"
I shook my head. "No, it was just you." What about earlier? I went to your room and called you. You said, be there in a minute.
You went to my room? I wasn't there. I walked downstairs with that lady. After the blackout, I waited a bit, then I came out. I was going to your room, but the lady was standing in the middle of the hall, and I asked if she was going down to check. She nodded. She walked a little ahead of me on the stairs on the way down. She didn't talk the whole time. We went down together. I did the talking with security. Then we came back up. She walked a little behind me. When we got to our floor, I saw you in your doorway.
I stared at her. The fan from that night started up in my memory. The same small, persistent noise. The emergency glow. My automatic glance right. The shock of her on my left. If there had been a whole person standing behind her, I would have seen them. Rena stopped talking and just looked at me. And I could see the answer landing on her face, too. Another friend at the table summed it up. We both got haunted that night. Me by whoever's voice came from Rena's room, and Rena because she followed a whole person who wasn't really there. We finished dinner in a weird, quiet way. And that was my story. I was a freshman when this started. New town, new dorm, first time living far from home. The campus was basically in the countryside. I was supposed to stay out there for 2 years, then move back to the city for my third. The dorm was just off campus, brand new, split into a men's side and a women's side. Small studio rooms. My roommate and I were some of the first people to ever use ours. Most of my major, maybe 20 or 30 of us, were in the same building. It felt safe in that we're all in this together way only college can. Before moving in, my belief in ghosts or the paranormal was 50-50. I'd never experienced anything solid. After living there, I'm a 100% believer. My roommate and I studied architecture, and freshman year hit like a truck. Crits, models, all-nighters, the whole thing. We were up late almost every night. Some weeks we went 2 or 3 nights in a row without sleep. I was a light sleeper at the best of times, and this wasn't that. It started in the first or second month there. Sleep paralysis. That feeling where I'm still awake but can't move my body. Aware, trapped, pinned in my own skin. I'd wake in the middle of the night while the room light was still on. My eyes felt open. I saw my desk, my roommate at her drafting table, the scratch of a pencil on vellum. I knew exactly where I was, on my bed. I just couldn't move. If you've dealt with sleep paralysis, you don't need me to tell you how real it feels. If you haven't, I hope you never do. I never knew how long each episode lasted before I fought it off and could move again, but it felt like forever. It took everything in me to wrench myself free from that loop. Of course, I looked up the science and told myself it was because my sleep schedule had changed. I was overworked and my body was exhausted. The explanation made it easier to fall asleep the next night. Until it happened again. It kept happening. From once a week to every other night. My roommate slept like a rock and didn't get any of it. I almost made a doctor's appointment, and then midterms hit, then finals, and every time the fear faded in daylight. I was busy. I told myself I was fine. Then one afternoon around 3 or 4, my roommate headed home for the weekend and I crashed hard after turning in a final model. I lay down for a quick nap. I had a dream. I remember the beginning vividly. There was a woman I talked with. She pushed me. I fell on my back and something grabbed my hair and dragged me backward. The floor burned against my skin. That was when I woke up. I was staring at the end of my bed, the wall, the shelf, and I couldn't move. I watched my chest rise and fall too fast, then sink as if someone were sitting on it. I fought, really fought, trying to shake myself free of the dark pressure I couldn't see. Then I heard kids, little voices, little giggles like they were playing tag. For half a second I thought, okay, maybe the neighbors had their TV cranked. But after that dream and those sounds, it didn't feel normal anymore. I started to pray in my head, a simple Buddhist prayer I'd learned as a kid. Because even if it was just in my head, doing something felt better than doing nothing. Big mistake. A few seconds later, I heard a woman laugh. I still remember it to this day. It shook me to the core. And layered under it, a man's voice began praying in a language I didn't understand. I didn't know how to feel. And then, like someone cut a string, I was free. I bolted upright. The room was silent. No TV, no wind, dead quiet. I know how this sounds, but I slept alone in that room that night like nothing had happened. I didn't have anywhere else to go. I woke up in the morning, rested, and weirdly okay. I wasn't the only one living with this stuff. The rumors were already circulating in class. Most first years were in the same building, and a lot of people had stories. One girl kept catching a human-shaped shadow in the corner of her eye. Another swore she felt a roommate come in late, walk behind her chair, and go into the bathroom while she was hunched over a model. She said, "Hey," without looking up. A few minutes later, her roommate called from outside, and the bathroom was empty. On the men's side, some guys said there was a knocking sound coming from the 6th-floor balcony while they were sitting around drinking late at night. By the end of our first semester, a lot of people didn't renew their leases. We all kind of knew why, even if we didn't say it out loud. Me? I stayed. At this point, whenever I tell people this story about the sleep paralysis, the evil laugh, and everything else, they say I was either too brave or too stupid to stay. Honestly, I was just too lazy to move. Moving was a pain. It was only one more year, and most of my friends still lived there. Second year, my roommate moved out, and I was alone in the same room. A friend's dad gave me a yantra cloth, and I hung it on the door. I didn't know if it did anything, but it made me feel like I was doing something. It's not that I'm not scared, I just kind of got used to it. The door liked to swing open on its own if I forgot to lock it. I was sure it was the wind, but it creeped out my guests sometimes. As I mentioned, I'm a light sleeper, but I usually sleep through the night if nothing disturbs me. On this one night, something did. I woke up in the middle of my king-sized bed to the feeling of footsteps on the mattress. Not metaphorical, actual weight. The bed dipped in slow circles around me as if something were walking a perimeter. Each step was slow, deliberate. My first instinct was that it wasn't human and I shouldn't open my eyes. I waited it out. I didn't move until the pressure faded. Then I sat up. I was terrified, but it was 3 a.m. and I didn't want to wake anybody in a panic. I didn't even climb off the bed to flip the light. I'd watched too many horror movies to let whatever was under the bed grab my ankle. I lay back down and made myself sleep. The next day, I told a friend who lived 1 floor above me, same row of rooms. She didn't even blink. She said it happened to her too. The difference was she opened her eyes right away and saw a pale, floating foot fade out right in front of her. After that night, the activity slowed down. Fewer episodes of sleep paralysis. I guess the ghosts either got bored of haunting me and getting no reaction, or they moved on to the new freshmen who had just moved in. Later, I heard that the dorm was built on what used to be an Islamic cemetery. I'm not sure if that's true, but if it is, it would explain a lot. Especially the prayer I once heard in a language I couldn't understand. When I finished second year and moved out, the sleep paralysis almost vanished. After that, it happened once or twice a year. It still scared me every time. But hey, I've been through worse.
I'm Wyatt. I lived in an ancient dorm suite, 3 tiny bedrooms, 1 shared bathroom. It was just me and my 2 roommates, Miles and Andrew. The tiles were always a little damp, the pipes groaned like something was alive inside them, and the mirror had black freckles trapped under the glass. The very first night, I crashed early and dreamed I was walking down our short hall into the bathroom. The light hummed. Water ticked somewhere, and there was a woman in there. It wasn't a sexy dream, don't get weird. She stood with her back to me in the shower. Her hair was dark and wet. She never turned around. She never said anything. She just tilted her head like she was listening to the pipes. I woke up in the morning. Somehow I forgot about it. New classes, new roommates, new environment. My brain filed the dream away under whatever, the way it does with stress or half-remembered movies. There was too much going on anyway. Syllabi, group chats, unpacking, pretending I wasn't nervous. By the time I left for class, the dream felt like something that had happened to someone else. The second night, I had the same dream. I was walking down our short hall into the bathroom. Cold tiles. She was there again, back to me. Then she turned. Her lips moved like she was trying to tell me something. She was pale. Pretty, but too pale to be alive. The sound never reached me. I snapped awake, heart thudding against my ribs like it was trying to get out. The room was dark, too quiet, and for a second I wasn't sure where I was. The dream clung to me, her face, her lips, that soundless plea. This time I remembered everything, every detail. But I still didn't tell anyone. I still couldn't explain what it was. Later, while we were brushing our teeth, Miles frowned at the sink.
"These old pipes are weird,"
He said.
"Sounds like a lady crying in there."
He laughed at himself. I laughed too, because that was safer than staying quiet. I ended up telling them about the dream, casually, like it was a joke. Andrew rolled his eyes. Miles went,
"Ooh, haunted bathroom."
in a fake, spooky voice. I laughed with them. Great. Now my fear felt less valid. The third night, I pretended I wasn't waiting for it. I was. Sleep took me anyway. Same dream, same bathroom, same girl, same hum, like I was meant to pick up right where it left off. But this time I heard her clearly. 2 small words, light as breath, caught on the edge of glass.
"I'm here."
I jolted awake. This time it got under my skin. Coffee tasted wrong. In lecture, I couldn't focus. The professor's voice felt like a long hallway. Andrew slipped in 15 minutes late, face a little too pink, breath shallow, like he'd run and tried to hide it. After class, he shrugged it off.
"Overslept,"
He said.
"Late party, you know. Some woman's voice woke me up, though. Like, hey, time for class, or something."
He laughed, but it sounded thin. My stomach folded in on itself. It lined up too neatly with the woman in my dream. That night, nothing. No dream, no noise. Just that deep stillness old buildings get after midnight. A week passed in a blur. Classes, deadlines, microwave dinners. We slipped into a rhythm, bumping into each other in the kitchen, sharing groceries, pretending the place didn't creak a little differently every night. Then one night, the dream returned. It was like replaying the same scene in a game. The familiar hallway, same walk, same bathroom. She turned that too pale face toward me. She lifted her head, just a little, her lips beginning to move.
"I'm here."
She said again. I was scared. My mouth was dry. The moment her pale face looked right at me, it crawled down my spine, every hair standing on end. But I was more tired than brave. And being tired makes you honest in stupid ways. So, in the dream, I spoke back. Not the same words, but what I meant. "I got it," I told her. "No need to tell me any more. We'll mind our own business. If you're going to stay here, fine. But stop coming into my dreams. I know you're here." I didn't remember anything after that. I woke up in the morning like nothing had happened. After that night, I never had the dream again. Not like that. No more cold tile walks. No more marble face. I used that bathroom, brushed my teeth over the sink like a normal person with a normal life and a normal, stupid fear of midterms. But sometimes, only sometimes, if one of us overslept, it happened. We'd hear a woman's voice, light and matter-of-fact, right outside the bedroom door, or somewhere deep inside our own heads.
Hey, time for class.
Miles joked we had the most considerate ghost on campus. Andrew laughed with him, but he started setting 2 alarms after that. I said nothing about my dreams, not until years later, long after we'd moved out. I don't think she meant any harm. She just wanted to tell me she was there, just so I'd know. Dorm rooms get new tenants every year. New faces, new laughter. But the stories, they stay. They're written in sleepless nights, in voices we can't trace, and in the silence that follows after the lights go out. Subscribe for more chilling stories, folktales, and urban legends from around the world.